What is up, everybody? It is Chase here from Fins vs. World, and we are just under about an hour and a half till the official kickoff of the NFL season as we are recording this. And I know I am very excited. Anthony, how are you feeling?
Woo! Bro, I'm so excited, dude. I am so excited. I love the beginning of football season. Now, talk to me in about a month. We'll see how the Dolphins are doing. But dude, I can't wait for it. I can't wait to just watch any football, to be honest with you. Like I'm excited to just, see the game tonight. It's all talk up until, it actually matters. And then from there, like anything could happen. Anything could happen tonight. Anything could happen with the season, but dude, I cannot believe that football season's here. I feel like it's going to be over before we can even like process what's going on. But yeah, dude, just such an exciting time.
100%. Yeah, it's that time of year where anything can happen. Every team, they got high expectations for the year. Everyone thinks they're going to do something great, except if you're a Cardinals fan. Your season,
except if you're, dude, I live in Arizona too. I live in Arizona, and I was like,
brutal there.
I'm actually going to I'm going to an ASU game this weekend because my father-in-law is an OSU alum, and I don't really watch college football too much as far as supporting a team. I just kind of watch it for draft prospects. So I support OSU just because I have no other team, and they're actually playing ASU here. But like, dude, I think the temperature is going to be like 112 on Saturday. Yeah, so the game, it's going to be like 80 degrees, but tickets aren't that expensive. They were like, like $60 a piece for like good tickets. Like we have pretty good seats. And they were like $60 a pop. So definitely going to go see that. But yeah, I was contemplating honestly going to the LA game because LA is like 6 hours away. But by the time I looked at it, just like I had other things planned. So but yeah, definitely not going to any Cardinals games. I'd be shocked if they won more than like 2-3 games. But anyway, football season's here.
Yeah, but let's get right into it.
Yep.
We'll start talking about sort of briefly just what we think about the season, and then we'll get into the actual game. We got an actual game to break down here. But as far as the season goes, it has it's already been a roller coaster, as it always is for Dolphins fans. I saw somewhere that someone was like, the first injury report's coming out, and I hope it's already not looking like a Walgreens receipt. And it is already a Walgreens receipt level of injuries. And I think, honestly, it's partially like Mike McDaniel, for whatever reason, feels the need to disclose every injury. Like some teams, if some player has something, they don't even bother putting it. They know they'll play. But he likes to put everyone on there that is dealing with anything. And boy, the sort of just the roller coaster this offseason has been. I'll speak for myself personally. I'm still really excited about this team and everything, but definitely a little more concerned than before. Just sort of what everyone kind of said about the season, and it's true. Injuries are going to be one of the things that can derail this team. And oh gosh, there's already been a bunch going from Jalen Ramsey being hurt, now Tehran looking like he may miss the first game. So I'm going to just say sort of what I'm feeling like. The temperature of the team, it's not as hot as how I was feeling before the season. For example, if you're saying, it was going to be 120 at the ASU game, and that's how I felt before the season, I'd say now I'm probably down below 100. Just a bit nervous. I think maybe now that we actually have football here and we can't run anymore. But how are you feeling sort of big picture wise about the Dolphins?
I feel I 100% agree with just overall like the worry per se that you have. I would say my temperature is probably a little hotter just because, I think that ultimately every team's going to have injuries, right? I think we can both agree every team's going to have injuries. You hope to never have them at significant positions like the Dolphins have had in the past. But, I like to view things optimistically. And when I look at the Ramsey injury, I look at it and say, I still like our secondary without him. And I still think that we are contenders without him because he was a luxury pick. We didn't have him last year. And really, it was the scheme last year that screwed us. And we have much better health in that department than we did last year. I mean, we were playing speaking of this matchup against the Chargers, last year we were playing like Justin Bethel and Keon Crossan as starters. So I think this year we're in a lot better place going into this game. Teron Armstead, it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, he's always going to be injured, but I look at it and say, okay, well, I'd rather him stay healthy. I trust Kendall Lamb a lot actually as a backup, and I trust the game plan for them to, the way they use motion and everything. I just trust them to figure it out. And honestly, when I look at last year's game, I don't think the issue at all was, the offensive line. Teron Armstead last year was playing like at 20%. And so it's not like it's much of a difference. I thought the issue last year, obviously we'll get into it, but the issues didn't necessarily have to do with the offensive line per se. I think it was just mainly coaching and how they were schemed up. But ultimately, as far as this team, obviously with any team that's a contender, you're only going to go as far as your quarterback and the health of your quarterback. I think that, Tua understands that, the team understands that, but I think I'm probably as excited this year as I've ever been as a Dolphin fan. The first year I was a Dolphin fan was when we went 1-15. And it was the game where Greg Camarillo caught the.
I was at that game.
You were at that game, dude. I was watching it. So a little story here, not to ramble on too much, but I was watching, this is back when, it wasn't accessible. I lived in New Jersey, and I was watching the game on, I don't know if you've ever watched the games on NFL.com, where you can watch like the lines on the football field and they move. Mm-hmm. So I was watching that, and, this is back, I'm like 7 years old. I'm trying to think. That was a 2007 season. And so I was 9 years old. And so I was like a pathetic Dolphins fan. I used to like cry whenever we lost because I was like a little kid, and I used to like cry, and my dad always used to like tease me and be like, dude, why are you crying? Like, it's a football game that has no impact on like, anything, as far as me. But I'm sitting there and I'm watching the screen. I'm like, wow, we're really about to lose every single game. And all of a sudden I just see that line all the way to the end zone. I was like, oh my God, we won the game. And so that's where my fandom started. And I don't think I've ever been as excited as a fan, as knowledgeable about what's going on as a fan since then. And not meaning since then, like that was the last time. Since I've been a fan, I've never been this excited. I can understand definitely where you're coming from as far as being worried about injury. But ultimately, I think that hopefully the goal is you get healthy at the right time. And then with Teron is what it is. But at least we have Kendall Lamb, who I think is a much better upgrade than what we had last year.
Yeah. And I think something some people may learn about me as the season goes on is I need to like I say what I'm thinking, and it's always just initially negative. I think a lot of people, that's just sort of like the human way to be negative at first. But then once I like take a step back and can actually analyze the situation, I'll see the reality of it. It's not as bad as it looks. But I think sort of big picture wise, this game, like it how everyone is as a fan, it'll turn everything around. Like anything negative that's been going on, if we win in any convincing fashion or win, everyone's going to forget that, and we're going to be Super Bowl bound, and no one will be stopping us. But some other news that kind of trickled out since the last time we recorded. Officially, Mike White is QB2. I don't think that comes as a big surprise to anyone. But I think it's sort of more of like a 2A and 2B. Like if Mike White is struggling, then I don't think they'll wait to put Skylar in. But what do you think about the news?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it's political. You just paid this guy to be your backup. And to be honest with you, the only thing concerning about Mike White was the injury, because, he was in there for a couple snaps on that game and both quarterbacks were being evaluated for concussions. I just don't think Skylar Thompson did anything to show that he could be the quarterback too. And me, I was really thinking in my head, he's been in this offense 2 years. He'll fix the issues from last year, and he should be a decent backup. And I was just really underwhelmed with what I saw in the preseason. He was still having issues getting play calls in. Mike White didn't, Tua didn't. And you just saw a lot of inconsistency even in the preseason. I thought when Mike White was in there, yes, they didn't convert in the red zone, but at the end of the day, it was efficient, it was methodical, it was like a great value Tua out there, honestly, is the best way I could put it. And so I understand the decision to put him out there. I don't think it's necessarily Mike White won the starting job. I think it's Skylar Thompson didn't do enough to win it. So nothing shocking there. I pretty much expected it. I wanted Skylar to win it just because I think for the future of this team, it would be healthy. It would be in a healthier situation if Skylar won the quarterback 2 job. But I mean, at the end of the day, like you and I both said, if 2 is healthy, it doesn't matter. And if he's not healthy, then it also doesn't matter for a different way. You know what I mean? Like neither of these guys is a needle mover if 2 is not out there.
100%. Yeah. Hopefully we don't have to see either of them play a snap this season. But we may. And if that happens, these will be very different podcast moods. But
right.
But let's on any other news that sort of caught your eye, anything you want to talk about before we kind of do a breakdown of this game?
No, nothing really at all, to be honest.
The only thing that I would say that I feel like has been sort of talked about is how Liam Eichenberg is the starting left guard, and I'm not on video, but I am putting air quotes out right now.
Yeah, he's not if he starts at left guard on Sunday, I'm getting all the days mixed up. If he starts for left guard on Sunday, then I will have my jaw on the floor because I do not expect that at all.
Yeah, I don't either. And I don't think even if as far as injuries go, it's looking like Tehran maybe missing the game. I honestly, I don't know. Before the week on Monday, even just as early as yesterday, if you asked me, I would have said he's playing. Like, because last year he didn't practice at all. I thought that's what we were doing. But then a report came out that Schefter was talking on the Pat McAfee show, and Neil Driscoll, who is a Dolphins beat writer. And, normally is, I'm not going to say spot on. I can't guarantee that or anything, but he's in the know. He said it looks like he may not be playing.
We'll see. Neil's pretty, his batting average is pretty high.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I don't think we'll see anything tomorrow that's going to confirm or upgrade the situation. Like, he's not going to practice again. I can almost guarantee that. So I don't think we'll know anything by tomorrow's injury report.
I don't think he'll play, to be honest with you. I was reaching out to a couple of people who, have a pretty good pulse on the team, that I can trust, especially after everything with the Jonathan Taylor thing. There's only a couple people now that I really trust. And we've talked about it privately, but the people that I trust that do this for a living and have pretty big followings and, don't do it for any fake fame or anything like that, they've all pretty much told me they wouldn't expect him to play. But who knows? That they're saying that based off of hearing things in the inside the building about how he's progressing. But I wouldn't be shocked. Like, if he plays, I wouldn't be like, oh man, they lied to me. It's just right now they're thinking you might want to sit him for a week just to be precautionary. But yeah, so I wouldn't be shocked either way. It's just I would probably lean towards he's not going to play.
Yeah, and I don't know if he can or can't go. I'm not questioning if he can, but if he wants to play, I feel like they would. But it's the first game of the season. Sometimes you got to protect players for himself, and especially Tehran, because he's going to be hurt again. There's going to be like 20 different injuries this guy has somehow by week 4. Like, on the injury report, it's going to be like toe, neck, back, shoulder. Like, it's going to be crazy, but you may have to protect him from himself week 1. And if 1 week is all he has to miss for him to play the majority of the season, that'd be okay with me.
Yeah. And again, we'll talk a little bit about what happened last year, but I went back and rewatched the game last year, and I never sat there, and we had Tehran at like 20% health. I never sat there and was like, oh my God, the Dolphins are just getting dominated. The Dolphins got out schemed on both sides of the ball, and we'll talk about that. But it wasn't like we got out physical, like, at all. I'll get into exactly what happened last year, but it wasn't like we got out physical or anything. We got out schemed, out coached on both sides, and that's that. So I don't really think it's like, this isn't like we're going against the Eagles and it's like, you're out without Tehran, that's going to suck. I don't think that.
Yeah, I think these are two fairly comparable teams. Like they're right about the same level. I think the Dolphins have advantages in positions and probably have a better roster when fully healthy, both teams. But yeah, they're
100.
comparable teams. They're both teams that have big aspirations. But we'll get into it,
Yeah.
and we'll start there. We'll start with last year's game. So this game last year was coming off we were 2-game road. Actually, it was a 3-game road trip, but 2 on the West Coast. We played the 49ers and Chargers were the second game of that. And final score 23-17 Chargers. But one thing I do want to say is 7 of those points were the Tyreek Hill fluke ball bounces
right.
60-point touchdown. So they completely, honestly, shoved us in a locker. The 10 points offensively, and Tua was not good at all in this game. 10 of 28, 145 yards, 1 touchdown. That's not good. How did that happen? Honestly, the general takeaway from the game that everyone had was they got physical with us. They started bumping Tyreek and Jalen at the line of scrimmage and took away Tua's first reads. And then they sort of were like, well, the Dolphins have been solved. All you got to do is get physical now. So how are we going to come back and counteract that? But that was sort of the big picture takeaway from everyone in the national media about that game. But what did you see watching it back?
So, I mean, the main thing that they did is they crowded the middle of the field. And that was honestly what they started doing really at the end of the season for everyone. They crowded the middle of the field and they took away all of the easy, wide open completions over the middle. And especially with Tyreek, they were swarming him. I mean, guys were doubling him over the middle, especially. We saw it a little bit against the 49ers, but not much. The 49ers game, honestly, if Tua replays that game, he probably has his best game of the season because, I mean, there were guys wide open all over the place. I just think the Chargers did a better job executing. Here was the issue. Number one on offense for the Dolphins. You didn't run the football enough, okay? Raheem Mostert was averaging 3.4 yards a carry, which isn't the greatest, but then I think he got injured. Jeff Wilson was averaging 6.5 yards a carry. Okay. You did not run the football enough. You ran the football. If you don't count Tua's run, which I don't count Tua's runs, you ran the football 16 times. Okay. The Chargers, for instance, ran the football 24 times. Okay. So you ran the ball way less than the Chargers, and the Chargers didn't even run the football that much. You on offense, you abandon the run. The Chargers, historically, with Brandon Staley, have had one of the worst rush defenses in the NFL. That'll change. If this game they go out and they just decide to go pass happy, they will lose. If you go out there and you play to your strength on your O-line, which is actually the run game, I think you're going to be able to control a lot because it's going to set up a lot in the passing game. I think there's a lot to this offense about talking to this people privately. There's a lot of new wrinkles to this offense that we just haven't seen at all that they're going to implement. But right there, number one, the run game, you just didn't rely on it. The pass game, I can get on it because they crowded the middle of the field, but also let's understand every good offense or defense has 1 or 2 games a season where they get figured out. So I'm not going to knock Mike McDaniel as a first-time head coach for, okay, your offense was incredible all year, and then this one game they figured you out and you struggled. Like, you just traveled to San Francisco, and now you're playing in Los Angeles at like 50% health, and you got figured out. Okay, you got out-coached. Now let's see what you do in the second go-around. Obviously, the passing game was not good. But real quick, before I pass it over to you, defensively was just as atrocious of a game plan. I went back and watched it. So here's the thing. Justin Herbert threw 51 passes in the game. 39 of them were completions. He had 367 yards passing. That, if you aren't doing the math, I'll do it for you, is 7.2 yards per throw. That is extremely low. 7 yards a throw. He was, I can't tell you the amount of throws that he was just like, we're sending an all-out blitz. He's just dumping it off to Austin Eckler, and he gains 10 because Jerome Baker misses a tackle. It's 3rd and 12, dump off pass to Keenan Allen on a screen, and he runs 15 yards for a first. Way too many easy completions. They only ran the ball. They ran it 23 times on us for 82 yards. They were averaging less than 4 yards a carry. So it's not like we were getting dominated up front. They were just too many incompletions or too many easy completions, too many dump off passes for Justin Herbert. And if you've watched Justin Herbert film, Justin Herbert's struggle is when you make him make hard decisions in the passing game. When you make him do tight window throws, he can do them, but not nearly as consistently. And I think that the game plan on defense should never have been, let's give Justin Herbert all these easy completions. It worked his rookie year, right? We saw the same game plan because it was new. You can't do the same thing 2 years later. And that's what the Dolphins did with Josh Boyer. They had way too many passes where guys are 10, 15 yards off the line of scrimmage. And it's just like easy, quick dump off passes to the running back or screens. I didn't see one throw in the game where I was like, wow, they made that hard for him. Any of the plays in the game where they dropped a lot in coverage, played zone, and just let 4 or 5 rush the quarterback, it was like incompletions and sacks. They had good plays every now and then, but just overall, the defensive game plan was just awful. And even that, like, I understand with the Tyreek play, but like, you lost by 6 points. It's not like we lost like 40-0. Like, it was only a 6-point game. And that was with the offense getting figured out, a horrible defensive game plan, and your team was at like 50% health. So, you know, it was a horrible game plan on both sides of the ball, especially the defense. And I don't expect that this go around at all.
Yeah. And in my notes here, I agree with you. The key to the game is establishing the run. 2 years ago, so in 2021, the Chargers had the 30th ranked rush defense. And what did they do to fix that problem? They went out and signed J.C. Jackson, a corner. So their game plan was, we have one of the worst rush defenses in the NFL. Let's boost the secondary, already the strength of the team with Asante Samuel and Derwin James. What did their rush defense finish in 2022? 27th. So still terrible. How did they address it this offseason? They got a D tackle whose name is escaping me, but they got Eric Kendricks up the middle. I think it's going to be better. I don't think it's going to be good. It's still going to be very bad. So running the ball is going to be the key to winning this game offensively. And I agree with you, especially with Teron out. The run blocking of this team is the strength.
Yeah,
No, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I agree. I think, I have same thing as you. First thing is stick to the run. It's not run it effectively. It's stick to the run. This to me, I'm going to know right away. Or is Mike McDaniel going to get caught up in the, I need to make Tua look good, or is he going to get caught up in, I want to win? And to be honest with you, I think Mike McDaniel's pretty pissed off. I think that he's sitting there thinking, Brandon Staley thinks he's, hot, what. And meanwhile, here I am with Ronaldo Hill on my team, who, by the way, was up to be defensive coordinator for the team last year. He knows everything about that defense. He created the game plan, not Brandon Staley. Brandon Staley and everyone thinks I'm an idiot. All right, hold my beer. So I think Mike McDaniel is going to come out pissed off, and I think his goal is going to be to embarrass Brandon Staley. Go out there, run the football over them, and just absolutely dominate them. So this is going to be a big test for me. Does McDaniel stick with the run game or not?
Yeah. And last season, he was very quick to abandon the run in every game. And I liked it, but that's like not how you win games consistently. As the year went on, the depth started to get there, and he realized it, but then he'd just be like, F it. Like, I'm just going to pass everything.
It was fun. It was fun the first couple of weeks, especially against the Patriots and stuff. And, honestly, Chase, there were a couple times where people said he abandoned the run. Well, he abandoned the run against the Lions because we were down 21-7. So when your defensive coordinator shouldn't even be coaching NFL football, it's kind of hard for you to run the football. I saw that so many times against the Ravens, against the Bears,
down by 3 scores.
Right. Now, there were certain times, again, like the San Francisco game, I think we saw it against the Bills game was a good one in Buffalo. That was a great game plan. But yeah, there were a lot of times where I think he abandoned the run, but also there were a lot of times that he abandoned the run because he was like, okay, well, Josh Boyer's defense has given up 28 points this half. So what am I supposed to do?
And then agree with you. Or no, I was just going to say real quick. I kind of agree with you. You made me think a little bit. bringing in Mike McDaniel, he was brought in to not fix Tua, but to show Tua's strengths. And then this year, the goal is winning. And that's got to be the goal. And so do what it takes to win. If that means Tua doesn't have a great game and he's going to get ripped in the national media, who cares? We're going to keep winning. That's going to be what'll shut everyone up.
Mike McDaniel, I mean, here's the thing people have to understand. I'm all for making Tua look good. You know what's going to make Mike McDaniel look good? Winning football games. You know what's going to make Mike McDaniel not good? Losing football games. And at the end of the day, he's going to learn real quick. I can sit here and I can try to make Tua. We know Tua is good. If you question Tua's ability to play football anymore, then you just have an agenda. Tua's issue, which is a serious concern that I think everyone can have and it's okay to have, is his injury. I have it. I worry about it. I wonder, is he our franchise quarterback because of it? I don't worry, though. If he's healthy, I mean, damn, we have a top 10 quarterback. I don't know when the last time is we've had that. But Mike McDaniel is going to understand, and I hope that's his goal this year. I showed what Tua can be. Now let's just go win games. If that means that I need to show off Tua and we need to pass, the pigskin all over the yard, then that's what we're going to do. But in this game, that's not what it is. And I think, honestly, that's something I liked about Brian Flores. There weren't many things, but one of the things I liked about Flores is he comes from that New England style, which is like, if we need to throw it against the Cardinals, against Kyler Murray, we'll win 34-31. If we need to run the football and have a defensive game plan against the Rams and win, 28-13, and we're scoring mainly defensive and special teams, we'll do that. And I think that comes with the maturity of being a coach. And I think Mike McDaniel, you're going to see that this year. I alluded to it last week or the week before. I'm hoping to see maturity from Mike McDaniel as a play caller to where let's do what we need to do to win the game rather than to prove to everyone Tua is our guy.
Yep. And then, so we'll circle back here. But yeah, I agree with all your points there. Easy, you got sidetracked. Just get passionate about the team. I'm loving it here.
Right.
But back to the game. So defensively, and for the Dolphins, offensively for the Chargers, the biggest question I have here is, well, let me start here. Some of the additions that they made, the Chargers, was Quentin Johnson in the draft. I believe he was a first-round pick. Not sure. He was, yeah. But yeah.
Yes.
So he's a great player. You're getting Keenan Allen back healthy. That'll last for maybe a week or two. But the biggest offseason addition for them was Kellen Moore, new offensive coordinator who a couple years ago, I mean, he was like the hottest offensive name in football, like the offensive genius. And then now 2 years under Mike McCarthy in Dallas, no one really was too interested in him anymore. But he comes over to LA. And the big question is he going to let Justin Herbert off the leash? Under Joe Lombardi in last season, Herbert's stats, 4,700 yards, 68% completion rate, 25 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. That's supposedly when he's, on the leash. They're not letting him throw. Like you said, his average depth of target in 2020, 7.8 yards, 2021, 7.9, 2022, 6.9. That's not great. For context, Justin Fields, known primarily as a runner, 2021, 10.1 yards. So the question is, are they going to open this thing up offensively? And that's what could make this game interesting here. And Vic Fangio, I think, is well aware of that. He's been hearing all offseason about Kellen Moore. And he's going to come here with a game plan. I think that's going to just box them in and get Herbert back in his comfort zone, because I kind of agree with you that it's not that he was on the leash. I know, like I just said, everyone was talking about it. That was the question that Joe Lombardi kept him. But I think it's more Herbert, how he progresses through his reads. I think he likes going with the safety valves. He sees the easy thing. He doesn't care. He'll pass the ball to Eckler, let Eckler run for 6-7 yards, and he'll do it again. So I think that the game plan is going to kind of be play a real deep, too high, get these safeties deep, and just let him go short. But we got to make our tackles. That was going to be the big key for me here. And then also just another thing kind of about Herbert is, I believe it was game 2 or 3, he hurts his ribs. And then also in the offseason, he has shoulder surgery. So he's going to be fully healthy this game. We're going to see what he's about. I'm not really interested in the Herbert Tua debate. They're so different, but he's a bona fide stud at quarterback. I'm not going to lie to you about that. And I'm excited to see what they do. And I expect Vic Fangio to be ready for this. This is going to be a great first test here.
Yeah, let me give you a stat real quick. So first of all, for the passing yards per attempt, Tua was at 9 yards per attempt last year. So again, just to give you a little comparison, he again, anything under like 7.5 is like, I mean, that's crazy. So Kellen Moore, the last time he's faced the Broncos, one of them was with Vic Fangio. The other one was with EJ Evero, who has a very similar scheme. He comes from the Rams, which is Staley, which is Fangio, similar defense. Last 2 times that the Cowboys with Kellen Moore have faced either Vic Fangio or a Fangio defense last year with EJ Evero. In 2021, which was Fangio's last year, they lost 30-16. The Cowboys lost. They only scored 16 points against Vic Fangio's defense. And then last year, they lost 17-7. They only scored 7 points against the Broncos. So let's just say that Kellen Moore's offense historically, again, I understand it's different personnel, historically has not done well against this style of defense. So that's a positive. Yeah, I think overall with the Tua versus Herbert debate, again, Herbert's going to be a lot more of the flash. Tua wins. Tua is good. We just need to end the conversation there. I don't know what the whole situation is with like the infatuation over Herbert. He's never won a playoff game. He choked in embarrassing fashion last year. If you've watched him play, he's a glorified Ryan Tannehill. And I don't care if I'm going to get blasted for that. I couldn't care less. I watched Ryan Tannehill many years. Justin Herbert does not have a good he doesn't have a feel for there's just certain times where I watch Justin Herbert and I'm like, okay, you make a lot of wow throws, but he doesn't have that natural ability to play the quarterback position. And that's what the issue was coming out of Oregon. A bunch of people question, some of the throws he would make, the pocket presence, obviously, yeah, he's going to make certain routine throws where it's like, wow, that's kind of really shocking that he can do that. But at the end of the day, I think he's a very good quarterback. I don't mean any of that to say like, oh, he's not good. Justin Herbert is a very good quarterback. But this notion that like he's light years beyond Tua, I just don't see it. Last year in 2022, they had the same amount of touchdowns and Tua played 5 less games. If Tua, I don't think people understand this too. If Tua was healthy all of last year, he was going to get like 4,500 yards passing. He was averaging like 340 something yards a game, which is it was 350. Yeah, it was 354 a game. Herbert was 314. He was 354. So it's 40 more yards a game. He was going to get like 4,500 yards. The question was health. If Tua was healthy all of last season, we'd all be sitting here saying, without a doubt, he is a top 10 quarterback. But again, he gets injured. The main thing everyone thinks about him is the injury. And there's the discussion. But yeah, overall, just real quick, talking about the defense and the game plan. The game plan for this is, I don't think it's, I think that they're going to try to test you deep. I think that Vic Fangio's MO is, too high safeties. That's just in general. They play a lot of too high. But I think the game plan with this is make it hard for him. Last year it was way too much man. Again, your cornerbacks are Keon Crossan and Justin Bethel, opposite of X. You can't. I don't care if Mike Williams and Keenan Allen get injured a lot. I don't. When they're on the field, they are good wide receivers, very good, in fact. You cannot be putting those guys man-to-man against them. I don't care. And that's all Josh Boyer's game plan was. There was a lot of just like, let's send the house and, give them easy completions. No, make him work for it. Rush 4, rush 5, incorporate some stunts on the defensive line, some blitzes out of nowhere. Make it hard for him. Don't just give him the easy completion for 15 yards. And I think that if you can play a more conservative defense, allow him to make mistakes, implement new things that I think we haven't even seen with the defense, I think it's going to shock him. I honestly think Herbert's going to be like, I don't even know what this is. I've never seen this coverage before. I think between
my notes here, I got the D-line is the strength of this team. Lean on the D-line. Like the second, lean on the D-line.
I agree. And the offensive line isn't incredible for the Chargers. I mean, it's better, but Austin Clark, who is Frank Clark? No, Frank Clark. Sorry, not Austin Clark. Frank Clark, our offensive coordinator, knows the strength and weaknesses of the guys on that line because he coached them. They'll have a game plan. I think they'll have a game plan. I think last year it was just you caught him at a bad time. Frank Smith, my gosh, Frank Clark. He's the defense player. Sorry, Frank Smith. I apologize to listeners. Yeah, I think that they're just going to have a better game plan. You're not catching the Dolphins at an injured time. You're not catching the Dolphins with a horrible defensive game plan. They had all year to focus on this opponent. And I just think at the end of the day, I trust Vic Fangio in this defense, and I trust Mike McDaniel to, until proven otherwise, I trust him to make the proper adjustments. And so ultimately with this game, just to give you a score prediction, I don't even think it's going to be close. I think it'll look close because of like a last minute touchdown. I said 27-20, and I expect it to be like 27-13, 27-14, maybe heading into like the last 2 minutes. And then the Chargers score like a last minute touchdown to make it 20 or 21 points with like a minute and a half left, and they kick an onside kick and we get it and it's game over. I think it's going to be something like that. It's going to be a lot closer on the box score than it really is. But I think the Dolphins are going to come out and prove to people that they're for real. Again, I just think that with Ronaldo Hill on our staff, Vic Fangio wanting to up his disciple in Brandon Staley, and honestly, Tua, I know they can lie and say, I'm not playing Justin Herbert, I'm playing the Chargers defense. Tua is, I promise you, him and Justin Herbert are trying to battle it out to make to get the win, because in the media, we all are going to say what? Justin Herbert beat Tua, or Tua beat Justin Herbert. So they know that. And Mike McDaniel has heard the talk about last season. He watched the film. He may look like a nerd, but I've heard too many things about him personally. He is Kyle Shanahan Jr. He is competitive. He's one of those that's like sneaky aggressive. I don't know if you've ever met that person to where like they look sweet and then you get them in like a game and it's like, bro, we're playing Yahtzee and you're like screaming. That's Mike McDaniel. Like I think that he's fired up for this game, and I think his goal, like Belichick. Remember last year we saw it against Belichick. He was like, "Oh, I'm this nerd. I apparently can't coach football." Okay, slant on 4th and 3, 17-0. Take that, Belichick. I know you've won 6 Super Bowls. I'm in my first game as a coach, and you're losing 17-0 to me at halftime. That's Mike McDaniel, and I love it. So yeah, I expect the Dolphins to win 27-20.
That's a great transition there, because another thing that I think is a big question for this game is, will Brandon Staley go back to being aggressive as a decision maker? Because 2 years ago, he set the world on fire, just going for it basically on every 4th down, making all the correct decisions by the math. And I'm a big fan of people who do that. I loved it. But then he did, in one game, I think totally changed like the trajectory of his career as a coach, was against the Browns. They kick a field goal, they win the game, and he goes for it and they don't get it. And then I believe the Browns came back and won and just blasted. Everyone blasted the Chargers. What the heck are they doing? This new football analytics, blah, blah, blah. And then this year, like for lack of a better word, they neutered him. They wouldn't let him do the aggressive play calling on 4th down. They were so much more conservative. And I think this is Brandon Staley's last year. If they don't have a successful year this year, and that may be winning a playoff game as far as that goes, because of the collapse last year in the playoffs, he may be out of a job. So I'm curious to see if he goes back to how he was 2 years ago, where he was a Vegas gambler. He was going for it on 4th down. And Mike McDaniel is one of those guys too, who is so aggressive on 4th down. It's 4th and 5 on the 45-yard line. He's going to go for it because like he knows that the math supports the decision. He doesn't care about that it's going to.
Well, also you don't have a kicker that can kick anything over 50. So I mean, I can guarantee you. Oh yeah, true. But I was just that made me bring that up real quick. Is Really this season, if the Dolphins are ever on a fourth down inside like the 40 of the other team, expect a fourth down attempt.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love it. I'm all for it. It's not going to work every time, but when it works, you get 7 instead of 3, or you extend a drive, can milk the clock. It makes so much of a difference. And people don't realize it because it's harder to realize, obviously. There's nothing on the scoreboard that goes up 3 points when you get a fourth down in a key situation, but it matters. And I'm really curious about that. That to me is something I want to see. I want to see just a game where we're going back and forth, like no one wants to give the ball back to the other team. But yeah, I agree with you on the score prediction. I think it's going to be on the lower scoring side. I'm going to take out that garbage time score. I'm going to go 24-13 Dolphins. But I think we'll be in control the most of the game. I think Vic Fangio is going to come here and everyone's going to be like, wow, this guy was out of the league. Like, how did this guy not have a job? He looks like whatever he was doing during the offseason, it worked. And the big quote from him that I'm really counting on is he was like, I got all these new stuff that I want to try, and I'm excited to try them. New looks he's going to be showing people. I'm excited. That's what I'm.
Well, there was a quote he came out with, and he said, I'm going to be rotating a lot of cornerbacks, changing them into safeties. There's a lot of new coverages I want to try out. That's what he said like a couple of days ago. I don't know if it was an official interview or
I think it was. I think it was on his presser.
Yeah. If it was, yeah. He essentially was just like, yeah, you're going to see a lot of new. Part of my language, we can put explicit on it, but you're going to see a lot of new shit this week. is essentially what he said. So, So you want to get into like what we think about the AFC East this year, and then like what are you thinking as far as record for us and other teams this year?
Yeah. Let me think real quick. I think I wanted to just say one more thing about the game. I think the D-line just going to have a big game. I expect D-line to show up. And then one sort of just wrinkle I have to the whole season, not just this game, but I'm worried about the spotters here. I think the spotters are going to be watching this game closely and aren't going to give him any chance, and might pull a Teddy Bridgewater at some point this season where they just see anything. Something I'm going to be watching for. Another wrinkle to the Dolphins season because there always has to be.
That's huge, dude. That's huge. The spotters could ruin the spotters, dude. I don't understand it because how did you miss? They missed Tua last year in the Green Bay game. They missed Skyler. Like everyone wants to crap on. Dude, everyone wants to crap on Mike McDaniel. I'm like, I'm sorry. Last time I checked, like half of the concussions that have happened in the last 2 years happened because Mike McDaniel was like, yo, something's wrong with you. Because you people act like they spotted the concussion against Green Bay. No, they didn't. People act like Mike White, they spotted the concussion. No, they didn't. Like you want to say Mike McDaniel doesn't care about his players. Think about this. Mike McDaniel was in playoff contention and mid-playoff contention went and film reviewed with Tua and was like, yo, you need to go check for concussion. You know how many coaches, like, I'm sure there are coaches out there that in the past are like, you know what, I'm just not going to say anything, even if I think it, because we're vying for a playoff spot right now. Like, if Tua doesn't get injured, we're going to win that game against the Patriots. If Tua never gets concussion, we're going to win that. Or if he's playing, we're going to win that game against the Patriots. And, we're not even going to have to worry about the Jets game. So, yeah, I just the spotters, you brought up a good point. Like, I just thought about that. There, you could easily, I was shocked, honestly, it didn't happen after the fumble in the preseason game where Tua kind of got landed on his head. He was fine, but how these spotters are. They looked at the Teddy Bridgewater hit against the Jets and were like, yeah, he's out for the game. And it was like, what? How?
I almost guarantee the spotters will miss like a blatant concussion for someone on the Dolphins, but then like call one onto it where it's like what he just like fell down. Like it wasn't a hit to him. He just got pushed and landed on the ground.
Good point. Yep.
But yeah, something to watch for. It's, I feel like that I may be yelling at my TV at one point during this season when that happened. Yeah. But yeah,
especially with the Dolphins.
Yeah. So record prediction from the season. I'm trying to remember what we said before. I think we said 11 and At least I said that. I whatever you said.
My record's changed a little bit just because of everything that's happened. Again, and we need to say this to everyone. I'm tired of doing if he can stay healthy. Like, I'm making record predictions as if not we're going to stay healthy, but the main people who I care about, like Tua, I'm going to make a record prediction just like every team will. We're sitting here like, I think the Chiefs can win the Super Bowl. No one says if Patrick Mahomes stays healthy. Like, yeah, I'm talking about the team on paper. I'm talking about if Tua is healthy, what do I think the Dolphins can do this year? If he gets injured, obviously we can throw it all in the trash. But I just wanted to say that because a lot of people are like, well, yep, that's if Tua can stay healthy. And it's like, okay, I get it.
So for my record prediction, I'm projecting it as like with injuries. This would be with not saying to Tua, but
no natural injuries that happen in a season.
It's gonna happen to every team. But yeah, I'm gonna take it down one. I'm gonna say we'll be 10-7. We'll be 10.
You're taking it 10-7. Okay.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. This was for my expectation of the season. This was a rough preseason in my mind. It was rough. What about you?
Okay. I'm gonna take it up one. So we're gonna balance each other out. I'm gonna take it. Watch them end 11-6, and we're sitting there like, oh, we guessed this back in May. But yeah, I'm gonna take them 12-5, and the reason for that is because now that I've seen how the Buffalo Bills are, I think I'm a lot lower on them than you are. Fine. I still think they're a good team. I'm not scared of them at all. I think there's a real good chance you can go into Buffalo and beat them. I'm not going to predict it to happen, but I don't go into these games anymore thinking I'm scared of the Bills. I go into these games thinking it's a toss-em game. It's like kind of like when we played the Patriots in 2020, I believe, or 2021, when we used to play the Patriots like 2 years ago. Now we play the Patriots and we're like, we expect to win. But like 2 years ago, it was like when we were first getting out of we're always getting dominated by them. And we started to be like, no, like we have just as good of a chance to beat them as they do us, no matter where we're playing. And that's how I feel about the Bills this year. I think I'm not as high on them. I'm a little higher on the Jets than before, just because I think their defense is going to be good. Not necessarily their offense, but I think their defense is going to be good. But ultimately, I just looked at the schedule, and the main games that I was like, I think we'll lose is like, I'll split with the Jets and the Bills. I'll do like the Eagles and the Chiefs, and then maybe like a game at the end of the year to, say like the Ravens or something like that. But aside from that, it's like I look at all the games that's like I expect to beat the Chargers. That would be the only game where maybe I could see us losing that game, and now it pushes us to 11-6. But I expect us to beat the Chargers. The Patriots, like I go through the schedule, and the only games that I look at and say, with Tua, obviously, this is just predicting both teams have relative health and their quarterbacks are good. The only games I go to and say we could lose that, probably the Ravens late in the year, because the Ravens always give us a hard time. Although lately we've beat them 2 times in a row, but the Ravens, the Eagles, and the Chiefs, because they were at the Super Bowl, and then just splitting with the Jets and the Bills because they're good teams and normally I always, if there's a good team in your division, I split them. So aside from that, I mean, that's 5 games right there, and that puts us at 12-5. So I'm going to say the floor is 10-7 like you. I'm going to say the ceiling is like 13-4 if we shock people. So I'm going to say 12-5. And again, I say that, and it's probably going to be like 11-6 because last year I thought we were going to be 11-6 as our ceiling, and we ended up 9-8. So I'm going to say 12-5 because honestly, I don't think 10-7 gets you into the playoffs this year. I think that in order to get into the playoffs, you have to be maybe the 7th seed is 10-7, but the AFC is too damn good. So I think I'm going to go 12-5 for the Dolphins this year.
Yeah, the reason I tick down a win is just from doing just watching stuff, listening stuff, doing prep for the season. I'm higher on the Cowboys than I thought I was. The boys, look out, it's finally their year. They've never said that before, right? But yeah, pretty much I think the Cowboys are going to be better than I expected before the season, just from everything I've been seeing. But yeah, I mean, geez, it is crazy what What an off season it has been. We are here. It's surreal. It is surreal. Win, lose, draw. Sunday. The season is not over, folks. Don't get too high. Don't get too low. That's my one advice. Even though I'll be getting way too optimistic or way too sad either way.
Yeah, we say that, and then it's like, bro, if only I had a camera on me during the game, because it's like I say that, I'm like, guys, we need to like I said that in the off season too. I was like, guys, we can't get too hype on like these Tua throws, and then he threw like a no look pass, and they posted it, and I was like, ooh, like I was getting way too hyped. So like, yeah, if we win this game, we're going to the Super Bowl, and if we lose it, we're getting Caleb Williams. So that's normally what's going to happen. But yeah, that's why we'll always do the shows at least 24 hours after, because you can't ever give good takes 24 hours after something good or bad happens. You need to give your mind time to think about it. But yeah, next time, I can't believe, dude, next time we do this, we're going to know if the Dolphins. Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah. Well, guys, I hope everyone has a great weekend. From us here at Dolphins vs. World, Anthony, Joel. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Watch it with some friends, family, and we get a Dolphins win here. But everyone, please like, share, comment, subscribe. It does help. It helps with the YouTube algorithms and everything, getting us out there to more people. So please do it. Please
like, comment. We'd love to hear from you guys. Tell us your thoughts on season prediction. What's your record prediction for the Dolphins, and what do you think is going to happen this week? So, leave a comment down there.
All right. But we got a game to watch here. We got a real NFL football game coming up here shortly. And I'm excited because this time next year, let's hope we're playing this game and not watching. But yeah, guys, from us at Dolphins vs. the World, do all that good stuff. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Go Dolphins. Let's get that win, baby.
Let's get that win. Fins up.